Alright, the Hunter's Workshop in Bloodborne, a sanctuary for the lowly hunter in the vicious and horrifying city of Yharnam. Now, the doll might be there to embolden your sickly spirit by channeling echoes into your strength, but that means little without wielding the proper tools of the trade, as the workbench allows you to fortify weapons, even by kneading blood gems into them, however that's supposed to work. But what would it be like to go through the game without using that workbench to upgrade your weapons? And yes, I have gone through the game twice before without visiting the Hunter's Dream at all, but how about we turn this into a more complete nightmarish experience by beating the game using every single trick weapon in the book at +0, meaning a different weapon for every boss fight. 26 in total, meaning all main game and DLC bosses plus 4 additional ones from the chalice dungeons. And you might think that you can't teach an old dog like me new trick weapons, but these aren't exactly of the one pony variety, as almost every single one of them has a transformation with a different moveset or special attributes. Although some of them simply go from web on back to web off, I suppose. Well, it can ironically be rather tricky to use the most appropriate trick weapon at the right time for several reasons. First of all, based on routing and when and where a new weapon becomes available to you. And secondly, because, I don't really tend to plan things out in a proper way, or really think things through in the first place. So, it is pretty impressive how many different things you can fit inside your arsenal, but once you start emptying out said arsenal, you can definitely create quite a mess, which makes it a rather nasty experience when everything starts to wipe the floor at you, given how little damage you can inflict without any weapon upgrades. Regardless, there are weapons all over this shop, and we'll be using every single one of them, sooner or later. Well, the ones wielded in the right hand, that is. Oh, and of course the question that needs to be asked, what is your favorite weapon in the game? I will show you my own ranking at the very end of the video, although I can't base that solely on this specific run, of course. Then again, I never really do normal playthroughs to begin with. But one thing I know for sure, the moon is close, and with such a low damage output, it will be a long hunt tonight.
Once upon a heavy night under the hunter's moon, and on the water, see my heart still skips a beat for you. Letting love will wash ashore, carry by the tide, 'cause you're here, 'cause you're mine.
Okay then, so at the start of the game, we only have access to the 3 starting weapons, the Saw Spear, and by convincing Eileen to take a crow's beak dive down the rafters, we gain access to the Blades of Mercy as well. But for the most part, we simply have to make do with what is available to us. Regardless, although some weapons have certain benefits, the further we get into the game, at +0, nothing will truly perform all that well. And despite being able to level up our character, few weapons have decent scaling when unupgraded to begin with. Meaning every weapon will be a trick, but not necessarily a treat. Fortunately, it's pretty normal to fight the first boss unupgraded, so essentially the challenge hasn't even started yet at this point. Did I just die? Huh. We're basically still at the point that this counts as a regular playthrough, yet I died already against the first boss? Well, that's fucking ominous. Then again, I guess it's appropriate that you would get screwed when engaging with someone who you would call daddy using hunter's axe. Hard, blunt, visceral hunter's axe. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a blunt weapon for some reason. I guess they forgot to sharpen it. Regardless, the hunter's axe is, well, dare I say, an excellent starting weapon for players who are new to the game. Not specifically for bosses, but for dealing with enemies in between the boss fights. Given the range, the knockdown ability and the massive amount of rally this weapon inherently has. However, against humanoid bosses, the charge or 2 attack has that same knockdown effect. In fact, if I had a bit more stamina to work with, I could have potentially stunned Gascoigne in a loop, given that the spin to win attack also has hyper armor. So when you combine that with the inherent rally potential, it becomes appropriately extremely effective. Even the untransformed versions R2 can flatten enemies, meaning that if you fail a backstab, you will at least be relatively safe from a potential incoming counterattack. So, just like the other starting weapons, it's completely viable to take on the entire game with. But in this case, we aren't putting merely our axe in one basket, we're filling it with every right-hand weapon in the game. And therefore, in Old Yharnam, I picked up the rifle spear, and when it comes to left-hand weapons, I did not intend to use any of those on any of the bosses. But it does not apply to regular enemies, and Jura certainly understood the gravity of the implications of a rule like that, allowing us access to the stake driver. However, given that only 2 right-hand weapons function as firearms, perhaps, in hindsight, quote-unquote wasting the rifle spear on the Bloodstarved Beast was not the smartest decision, because although you can parry it, that's certainly not the most efficient approach in my experience, as backstabbing is far more safe and consistent. However, the interesting thing about the rifle spear is that in the actual spear form, it is incredibly efficient at backstabbing, because not only do you have a very decent amount of reach, as you would expect, but the charge 2 attacks are incredibly quick as well, contrary to its rifle/halberd form. However, in that mode you might cover the most distance of any melee weapon in the game. This weapon was so efficient at backstabbing that in no time the beast was starved of all of its lifeblood, while I still had all of mine remaining, as I did not take a single hit. So, given that I never truly did an entire playthrough with this weapon, might this be an underrated weapon that I might end up placing higher on a tier list than I would tend to do currently? That is an interesting conundrum, given that it also has obvious downsides, as you cannot buff it with paper, even though the right Micolash can, so that already makes no sense to me, and it obviously lacks serration, on top of being not very efficient at building up the beast blood meter. But who knows, it might still be better than I, and possibly a lot of you watching, tend to think that it is. But something that I already know is only truly efficient, not merely from upgrading it, but specifically from a high skill stat, is the Blade of Mercy, given that I did an entire run with those at the minimal stats. So you would think that at +0 they would definitely not be something to crow about. Regardless, I lean quite heavily on one interesting aspect of them that allows me to stun lock the witches. Because with the right timing you can chain backstab them, basically indefinitely, at least in theory, but not so much in practice because you can get very rudely interrupted. And that leaves a very sour taste in my mouth, but to throw in a little bit of Dunglish, sometimes you have to bite through the sour apple for a while. Which I guess still makes sense to everyone else, given that grannies and apple pie go together as a board and a die. Or Granny and Smith make an apple together, although those are a bit too sour for an apple pie if you ask me. Anyway, where the hell is this script going? But given how bloody an enemy becomes when you chain backstab them like this, I could in fact finally tell which witch was which witch. In this run I have 26 problems, but finding out which witch is which ain't one. And that in turn allowed me to whittle down both health bars evenly, which in turn made the fight as easy as the aforementioned pie. Oh right, that's where the script is going. Which in turn prevented me from having to eat one of the humble variety. However, that turned out very differently when I decided to use the stake driver on Amelia. Because my idea was that in the transformed form, the R1 attacks are these rapid stabbing animations, I assumed it would be great at building up beast blood and stun locking Amelia. Well, that wasn't necessarily really the case. Yeah, so after suffering such a quick and humiliating defeat, I really wanted to make sure that I would succeed on the next attempt, meaning the stakes were high. Unfortunately, they were apparently not high enough, because I seemingly, inexplicably, kept missing attacks from close range. Which seems to be because the lock-on point is in the center of Amelia, so you kind of aim upwards, causing your attacks to not always connect, even when you're right up against her. Now, of course, what the stake driver is really known for is the immense powerful charge 2 attack when transformed. But in this case, it really was driving home that I was fighting with a +0 weapon. But even against a still quite early game boss like Amelia, the explosive power is reduced to one of those little popping things that you get at a carnival, whatever that's called in English. Over here we call them knallechten. But you know, all in all, Amelia's piercing shrieks have more piercing power than my little power piercer here. As you probably already know, the thing about Amelia is that when you cannot stunlock her to death, it actually becomes a really intense fight. And in this case, a very long, drawn out one. Dare I say, as if you're on a stakeout, just waiting for the right opportunity to strike. It's definitely noticeable that Amelia can be quite a challenging boss, but you rarely notice that, given how easily she usually has to stunlock. I'm a little scared of fucking up again so near the end, so... Whoa, as I was saying. Also, she has hitboxes on her feet, which I hate and makes no sense. And no, you cannot claim that it's a big boss, so hey, it makes sense because From Software has no consistency regarding that. That's better, huh? Yeah, it's kind of a peculiar weapon, the stake driver, and that was probably not the best choice, but hey, at least we got it out of the way early. Well, even though a stake shouldn't be well done, the stake driver did well. At least medium well. Sufficient enough, which is rare for a weapon I've hardly ever used. But with Amelia down, the night comes and our arsenal expands to a pretty damn impressive size, as we can fit several new instruments of various shapes and textures into it. Not merely from the DLC, but also from Gehrman. And speaking of Gehrman and the DLC, when you look behind you after you arrive, you can find the old and cheap make-your-own Ludwig construction package that we had to use back in the day before the DLC came out. Now, of course, every weapon in this game is quite unique and imaginative, but ultimately pretty straightforward. Blades, saws, swords, that kind of stuff. But if you're really adventurous, you can attempt to fit an entire arm into your arsenal. One of questionable origin, namely from an Amygdalan Great One. However, it looks more like a single finger than one of their arms. Of course, if you're not that experienced, a finger can already feel like an entire arm. But in case you don't have much experience with this, it's actually one of the most enjoyable and most literal type of armament in this game, if you ask me. And although it would be very theme appropriate to use it against Amygdala, for obvious reasons, I decided to try it out against the shadows instead. Given that in its, let's call it, whip form, you can potentially hit multiple shadows at once, or at least stay at a relatively safe distance while attacking, without needing to lock on, or depend on precise aiming. And, well, that was certainly the case, but the damage output was so much lower than I expected it to be. Making this such a long, lengthy, girthy, veiny test of endurance that I felt like a shadow of my former self, by the time I even got to the point where the shadows transform. Not to mention requiring enough damage output to finish off the Katana shadow during that process. Because if you don't, things get even more risky than the innuendos that I've used so far in the script of this video. It's not enough! Fuck! No! Damn it, he still has some health left. And I hardly have any vials. Shit. Okay, now I'm probably fucked. Please. Only 6 vials. One more hit. Come on. Ooh. No. I hate the stretchy arms. Damn it. One more hit. Come on. Give me an opportunity. I missed. That's better. Okay, please don't fuck up now. Damn it, the Tinnitus one still has so much health left. Oh my god, this is gonna take so long. And I have so little healing left. No! What the fuck? Why does that not go sideways? Please work. Please work. Please no stamina issues. Costs a lot of stamina. No! Stamina. No! No! Okay, club version then. No! What the hell?
Ah. Oh, so happy I was able to recover from that. Jesus fuck. Wow, I only barely was able to recover from that. In case you guys don't know, when they summon the snakes, the first time they do it, there's a safe spot here, next to the fog wall. However, that only applies to the first time they summon the snakes. So it's a good thing they didn't summon the second time. Fuck me up the motherfucker.
Yeah, that probably wasn't the optimal choice of armament for this particular fight. Still, if you've never given it a try, at least equip it in your second weapon slot to switch to when appropriate, because you will definitely feel like a handy Andy with a firm hand like that in the back pocket. Regardless, my weapon of choice for ROM was absolutely perfect. Because, probably to the shock of no one, the Tornitrus performs even better than one of those electric fly swatters. In fact, this was one of the only weapons in this playthrough that specifically sparked my interest at +0. Namely because the self buff adds so much additional damage by comparison. Not in the sense that it's a completely flat addition, but percentage wise, if you don't heavily invest in arcane or use specific bolt gems, it's a much bigger increase than you would tend to notice at +10. Regardless, despite its simplicity, the Tornitrus can be an incredibly powerful weapon. In fact, you can even see the power quite literally bursting out of it. And to be honest, I always had a bit of a soft spot for this weapon, simply because I already love maces, and especially with the addition of the awesome looking electricity effect that Bloodborne has. And even though it technically doesn't count as a trick weapon, as it has no alternative form, but at the very least it's an electric weapon. And even at +0, it definitely did the electric. Although you still have to be pretty bold when going for attacks when ROM is finally left by itself at the end. But even so, this was definitely one of the easier fights of this run. The perfect choice to turn this spider into an arachnid. Although in hindsight, perhaps I would have been better off saving it for the One Reborn, given that that boss has the lowest bolt resistance in the game and can turn into an even bigger mess mechanically than the boss itself already is visually, when you cannot consistently keep it down on the ground. And speaking of that particular concept in combination with electricity, I actually decided to take on Paarl first, not because that will allow us access to another weapon, but because it will allow us to purchase bolt paper, given that no other weapon inflicts bolt damage by itself. So for Paarl I decided to use a weapon with Serration for a 20% damage boost, because remember that is the equivalent of having the red tearstone ring in Dark Souls 2 or 3, but without having to be at low health. However, despite that, there is no way we're going to have sufficient damage to keep Paarl knocked down on the ground for the entire fight. Which is why normally Paarl is regarded as an easy fight. But he is not easy at all when you actually have to, well, you know, engage with his actual moveset. However, the true difficulty is hitting his scrawny legs in the first place. You would think that the Beast Cutter's whip form would be better for that. But, well, I really wasn't feeling it, because it's just so damn slow by comparison. In the untransformed mode, you at least have an attack speed similar to the standard Saw Cleaver. But as you would expect, even though when fully upgraded with the benefit of scaling, the Beast Cutter can be an absolute beast of a cutter, at +0 it's not really cutting it. Especially if you, you know, miss half of your attacks while struggling with the godforsaken camera. Yeah, when you think about it, it's a shame we're no longer in the Hypogean jail version of Yargul, which is the version with the giant pigs roaming around. It really would be awesome if you had the option to lure them all the way down into the boss arena and have them fight the boss for you. But then again, you're not supposed to cast your Paarls before swine. So rather than focusing on what could have been, we should focus appropriately on current events. Or at least the event with a lot of current going on.
Heal. I can't see anything. Oh, I didn't iframe this time. Okay, now I did. No, shit, I've messed up at a crucial moment. Okay, good. Okay, got him. Nice. Oh, ho, ho. Wow. Paarl is such a different fight when you cannot just keep him on the ground. Which is obvious, I suppose, but... wow, that's quite an intense fight like this. Definitely. But yeah, it is definitely... it's very important to iframe those AoE explosions, because those give you a lot of extra opportunities. I mean, you can attack right before it, you can attack right after it. And of course, if you don't iframe them, you take a lot of damage. Okay, Jesus fuck.
Now, you would think that the One Reborn would be next on the list, but that would actually be a bad choice, because going down that route leads to only the Burial Blade all the way from defeating Gehrman. The other weapons are found in the DLC, 1 in the Chalice dungeons, and 2 more from defeating Martyr Logarius. Now, I initially decided to use the Beast Hunter save on him, not for the Beast Hunter part obviously, but because I thought it would be a safe choice to get backstabs in during a second phase. After all, it's similar to the Saw Cleaver, but has the additional benefit of counting as a heavy weapon that can knock enemies down on the ground. So even if you would happen to misalign the attack for the backstab, it could still keep you relatively safe. Well, perhaps so, but that's not even applicable if you can't make it to the second phase in the first place. My standard strategy to force Logarius backwards to keep him from attacking constantly doesn't actually work with this weapon. And despite its fancy moveset, it might be a bit too fancy, as transform attacks make me backstab instead. And that's ironically not safe at all. So, therefore, I decided to put the cane in Canehurst instead. And although it would have been useless against Logarius specifically, but it is kind of a missed opportunity on From Software's part to not have the cane do arcane damage inherently. In fact, to provide you with some arcane knowledge about walking sticks, originally a pirate's pegleg was referred to as arcane. Regardless, let's hope that this allows us to stick it to Logarius so that he won't walk all over us.
Oh, wait, maybe now I can. Please, please, please. Yeah. This fast enough. Fast enough. Very nice. Okay, that's good. Huh? He does that in his first phase? What the fuck is that? Hey, he's in the second phase. How did that happen? There was no transition. And he's in the second phase. What the fuck is this? Okay. That's peculiar. Well, this is strangely working out. Oh, damn it. Not a backstab. Again, not a backstab. Shit. The angle is not right. That's better. But I'm not sure I've ever seen Logarius go to his second phase without actually having that transition animation. Oh, I missed! That sucks. Probably doesn't even do that much, but still. Uh-oh. Shit, I don't have anything to hit the sword with. Uh-oh. Okay, good. Angle was almost off, but it worked. Okay, count it. Good enough for me. Oh, I missed! How am I missing? Okay, well, he's almost dead, so it doesn't matter. Okay, we got him. Okay, well, at least this weapon is fast enough for the backstabs, but it doesn't have a lot of reach, even though you would think it kinda has. I mean, it's a stabbing animation. But for whatever reason I kept missing, really weird. But hey, it worked out.
Now, if you want access to the other weapons, we will need to do most of the DLC early on. So, next up is Ludwig already. And although I wanted to use my trusty Saw Spear, but just to be theme appropriate, I decided to try out how well Ludwig's Holy Blade would fare against, well, Ludwig the Holy Blade. So not the Moonlight Sword, which he uses, which also is his Holy Blade. And he is called the Holy Blade, but the one he is not using. But also his, and also Holy, but not the Holy Sword that the Holy Blade is using. Wait, what? Yeah, the naming is kind of accursed if you ask me. Well, as you would expect, given the giant health pools of the DLC bosses, the amount of time it will take to get through all of that at +0 is pretty damn cursed as well. Ludwig might be 2 horses melted together, but his health bar is certainly not going to melt like that, so there is no horsing around allowed on my part. However, contrary to the rate his health bar was decreasing, my Beast Blood bar was increasing at a highly impressive rate, and that's with regular R1 attacks using the Greatsword form. Now of course it still lacks the 20% damage boost you would get with a serrated weapon, at least in the first phase. However, one thing I could do quite well with this weapon in the first phase was to strike the head with it. In fact, I even managed to break it for a very welcome visual attack opportunity that is especially helpful since it can cross the scripted barrier on the HP bar where he goes into the second phase. However, I suppose I should have called the Yharnam police because I want to report a robbery. Yeah. And to make things worse, when I got far into the second phase, I suddenly got out Holy Bladed by the Holy Blade, which made me go, holy shit. Because not only did I just waste 10 minutes, but I wasted 10 Beast Blood pellets as well. And the thing is that those are, practically speaking at least, a limited resource since they require insight, which you cannot acquire that easily when you run out of it. So I decided to try again, but using my trusty Saw Spear instead. Which I initially wanted to use on Laurence, but given that there are 2 more Saw Blades remaining, I could afford to use one of those to fight Ludwig without worrying about things like muscle memory and changes in attack opportunities. Moreover, Ludwig's Holy Blade might in fact come in handy in another upcoming boss fight. Not to mention the one of the Moonlight variety that I would get right after this fight, and access to 2 more weapons in the area beyond that.
Ooh, I avoided even moving left. No! Fuck, I missed the visceral. Hey, huh? Oh, if you miss it, get another one? Oh, okay. I'll take it. Hey. Good old saw spear. Oh, he wasn't stacking before. Oh, whatever. It's fine. After screaming so much, he feels a little hoarse. That's imaginable. Although, how the hell is he talking if he's just a hat? But, you know.
Now, even though I technically could have acquired Simon's Bowblade the moment you first encounter him, but given how much health he has, you're much better off waiting until he appears in the research hall, given that you can lure him into the poison pool. You might remember seeing me do that in an earlier video. So in that case, you already know that you can just wait until Simon says, "Gurgle, gurgle, my insides are melt." Hello? Oh, come on, he still has a single-digit HP left or something. Well, at least it should be easy to finish him off now.
My guiding moonlight. Oh, whoa, he's still alive! What the fuck? I do so little damage that he's still alive. Guiding moonlight my ass. Okay, let's not fuck it up now. Guiding moonlight. That's better. Yeah, that's true. He was a good man, what a rotten way to die. We have Simon's Bowblade. Interesting weapon. I have used it as a bow quite a bit, but I never really used it as a weapon that much. Bit of safe. Is it actually buffable? No, it's not. That's a shame. The problem, of course, is that the arrows probably don't do a lot of damage. 56, yeah, that's not a lot.
Now, the thing is that after picking up the hidden key, I thought I could simply go and find the church pick in one of the cells. Well, yes, but also no. given that you actually acquire it from a hunter wielding it. And not only did I not have a poison pool available down here, he was acting quite toxic to me instead. Crapalicious, how the hell am I going to get to the church pick from this church prick? I mean, the only decent damage I can do is with visceral attacks, and that's not exactly as impressive as I hoped it would be, even with the 20% rune. There is a 30% rune, but that's in the chalice dungeons. However, in order to obtain the Beast Claw, I would have to go into the chalice dungeons anyway. Moreover, we need additional boss fights from there in order to reach a total of 26. And for the Undead Giant, I suppose that the Beast Hunter save was more appropriate than against Logarius anyway, for a sickle versus sickle fight. Because this way we have some giant sick fuck with a sickle versus the Undead Giant. So that kinda works. By the way, this boss is understandably not weak against serrated damage in the first place, but as should be very clear visually, the Beast Hunter save also understandably has no serration, since it very obviously has no saw teeth. However, having said that, the church pick, at least functionally speaking, does have a similar modifier that makes it more effective against beasts. But not serration, as you can very clearly tell from what it looks like. Instead, it has a Beast Hunter modifier in the same way that Beast Hunter gems have. But wouldn't that have made more sense to have on the Beast Hunter save? You know, because it's in the name. Then again, I can also understand why they would pick the church pick, because that's also in the name. Anyway, in order to obtain the root chalice, we also need to defeat the second boss, namely the 3 Watchers. One of the only bosses in the game that are explicitly weak to blunt damage. Even though that's another case of you wouldn't think that based on what they look like. You know, kind of bouncy. But in addition to that, they are also weak to arcane damage. So dare I say that the Logarius wheel was a really good choice for this particular fight, and it evidently rolled right through them and drove them into extinction before I even knew it. Which is a good thing, because given that I did an entire playthrough with this weapon at the lowest stats, you probably know that this vicious circle is one of my least favorite weapons in the game. But hey, using a shitty weapon for a shitty boss did allow me to set the wheels in motion in order to get my greedy paws on not only the Beast Claw, but also the Claw Mark rune. Which in turn allowed me to finally get rid of the church pick wielding church prick.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
And you would think that a stabbing weapon like that would be perfect for the fight against the Headless Smurfs. And to emphasize because of my accent, that's head with a T. Although there's also definitely something wrong with their other heads. Or their entire bodies for that matter, as they are rather tall for being Smurfs. But the thing is that even though they might be exceptionally weak to thrust damage, but at +0 that would still result in a way too slow and drawn out fight. So instead we're going to draw out something quick and rapid. Specifically, rapid of the poison variety. Which by the way is actually the only status effect that we can use on a boss in this run. The point is that rapid poison is basically how From Software decided to get the bleed status in a game that already has so much things named with or after blood in it. So that they kind of couldn't call it bleed. But the thing is that it functions the same way. Do enough hits in rapid succession and the target will lose a percentage based amount of health. Which is therefore perfect for a low damage run like this. Unfortunately, being this aggressive doesn't result in a low damage intake. In fact, I was only about halfway through the fight before I practically ran out of blood vials. Which is especially not all that beneficial when using a weapon that slowly drains away your own health from merely holding it. So my thought was to transform it back and go for backstabs during the meteor shower. Which for some reason didn't happen. In fact, I was apparently receiving a golden shower of sorts because the bosses really were taking the piss by not going into their second phase despite their health being this low. Evidently, the phase transition is not based on the shared health bar in the first place, which you apparently only get to notice when you're dealing percentage-based damage like this. Now, fortunately, I did manage to take 2 individual ones down by taking some risks, which did finally initiate the second phase.
Okay. Let's pick this one. Okay, iframes, very nice. Okay, good. If I'm a bit patient, I should be able to get through this then. Now, come on. Do the meteors again. I need another opportunity. Oh! Oh! That's not good! Son of a bitch! That was fucking cheap. That was so cheap. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just go for it. That's better. Okay, well, that's the living village done. But as I expected, this was definitely the best choice of weapon for this fight. I think this is a good weapon against Maria. In fact, you might even be able to knock her down this way. Okay, let's first see how well this does to begin with. Yeah, that's pretty much what I expected, but... Oh. Oh, that's actually... Ooh. Oh, hey! The follower. Hey! Yeah. 1,000. Oh. Okay, it's not the greatest, to be honest, but... Wait, let's check. Knocking her down. Yeah, that does work. 108 could be worse. Of course, I'm wasting bullets this way. Hold on, let's at least initially go with the untransformed form. The one downside of the stab attack is that it is a bit of a small hitbox. Yeah, more of a sweeping hitbox for backstabs is definitely better, but... See, I'm not really getting backstabs now. This one is a lot slower. That's actually not good. A bit annoying to get backstabs this way, but yeah. It does work. Oh, fuck. Oh, I have to watch out because her attacks are very much sweeping. Oh. Yeah, come on! I didn't expect that. Yeah, I don't know. This is maybe not really the best choice for this this fight then. This is double. I don't even know how that works. Is it that the second one hits that that is the backstab? I don't know. Yeah, this also sucks. How does this even work? Well, I haven't got a single backstab yet, so... Can you even backstab with this thing? I have no clue. I don't think this this weapon you can even backstab, or it's something very weird at least. Oh, there you go. Yeah, this weapon sucks. It's interesting that it's a bow, but this is not working.
So this meant I had a little bit of a dilemma. I wasn't sure yet whether the cleaver or the whirligig would be the best saw to use against Laurence. The saw cleaver is my go-to trusty BL4 weapon, but the pizza cutter has higher base damage and a B scaling in strength even at +0. Then again, the mace version has a nice sweeping motion for backstabbing. But in the end I decided to go for the saw cleaver. After all, for a blondie like Maria, you got a cleaver or some 90s shit like that or something. I don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't seem to know what I was doing either, even though I should have, since this is exactly the same fight strategy-wise as on BL4. But not only was I making such a mess trying to ring her bell, that she in turn ended up cleaning my clock instead, but given how many attacks are required at +0, by the end her clock tower was in an even more desperate need of cleaning afterwards. In fact, speaking of a giant mess, even though I wanted to save the church pick for Ebrietas, I decided to save the Rakuyo for her instead. And good choice in hindsight, since as you will see later on, as good as that weapon is, it's terrible for building up beast blood. Despite being a fast weapon. Which the church pick is as well, however it didn't actually fare that much better in that respect. In fact, the damage output on the freaking Bell Maidens was already a massive kick in the bells. Fortunately, using fire paper could at least remedy that, sufficiently enough. But for the boss himself, in neither mode could I get enough damage in to keep the One Reborn down on the ground before being able to break the next limb. However, that wasn't even the worst problem. In fact, I can't even articulate what the real issue was, since I had no idea why anything that was happening was even happening in the first place.
Where's the explosion? What the fuck? Where's the explosion? Fuck, this was wasting my beast blood. What the hell is this? Where's the explosion? Yeah, well this is fucked. Oh, and now he's not even... Jesus, what the fuck is this? Well, this is not good. Complete waste of beast blood. What the hell's even happening? Yeah, I'm dead. Now come on, do the explosion. What the fuck is he doing? Why is he not doing the explosion? How is this making sense? All the Bell Maidens are dead. Where's the explosion? I have no idea what is going on here.
Normally the One Reborn is a very predictable fight, since after the Bell Maidens are down, you wait for the explosion so that you can hit the entrails without getting kicked. And once you've done that, you don't need to go out on a limb to go from limb to limb, since each successive limb break will make the boss go limp. That's not exactly what happened during all of these attempts, perhaps due to how much longer it takes to take the Bell Maidens down or something. But whatever the cause is, the pattern changed and the explosion didn't happen, or later, and you use different movements regardless, or you should get enough damage in, but perhaps the puke animation makes the boss stagger immune or something? I don't know. I don't freaking know what the hell was going on anymore. This boss is not merely visually, but also mechanically an incomprehensible mess, which turned me into the one who wishes he was never born. But somehow, eventually, at a random moment, I randomly did some random shit that randomly did sufficient damage over a random amount of time at some random time, and somehow I randomly won, or something stupid like that. Well, you can't spell random without dumb, I guess. But even more ironic is that since I don't even know whether the church pick was the best pick for this prick, so after it was all done, I still had a bone to pick with this boner. And speaking of boners, it was a real pain in the dick when I discovered that I couldn't cheese Captain Cockcage here with Simon's bowblade from the balcony. Not that it mattered, because even when you do manage to hit him, it is a slice of cheese so thin that not even putting it on a piece of toast that has the image of Jesus Christ himself burned into it could provide the miracle necessary for victory. To make it worse, the problem is that none of my other options fared much better. Not to mention that the real issue were the marionettes in the first phase reviving too quickly. It seemed that my best option was to go for backstabs using Ludwig's Holy Blade. However, I wanted to save that one to backstab Orphan of Kos, who fortunately, based on his movement, during backstab opportunities, doesn't have the same issues as Maria. A stabbing animation works fine enough on Orphan, in fact it can provide a little extra reach when he jumps over you in the second phase. But how can beating him solve the issue of Micolash? Well, it's because I was working my way to obtaining the Kirk Hammer. And yes, I'm aware how confusing that is, because in their sword forms, both weapons are exactly the same. So why would it even matter which one you use on which boss? Well, because there's a good reason for leaving the Cleric Beast alive all this time. There has to be one weapon that I would have to classify as the worst weapon in the game. And without a doubt, that has to be the Kos Parasite. Although it's certainly a unique weapon among the entire catalog of From Software armaments.
People have asked me about it because I have mentioned this before. Yes, I had it on my list to do Bloodborne with only this attack, the vomit attack. That's not really feasible. I did try it out, but yeah. There's probably a good reason why that has never been done before. You can hardly hit something with it, and it does absolutely no meaningful amount of damage, and it sucks. What I did want to do is the tongue attack, but that has a different problem. You know this. Can you beat Bloodborne using only your tongue? But there's a problem with that. That's why I haven't done that. It's not a consistent attack that consistently comes out. Like, it's a jump attack, and very often you will just accidentally do a normal attack with R2. So yeah. So it's see, I was trying to do the jump attack, it didn't even work. But it would be an interesting idea. But yeah, it's not really feasible, unfortunately.
But unless you have an arcane overload and powerful arcane gems from the chalice dungeons, even at plus 10 it can be a colossal cauliflower catastrophe. Meaning that at plus 0, and by extension without the possibility of applying gems, I had to make sure to leave one boss alive with a tiny health bar. And thus, by doing so, we are in fact still able to inflict massive damage. Wow, really? Okay, that's not exactly a parasite to behold. Not even the explosive power of self-love snuggle secretion had any meaningful effect on the raging fury of Cleric, Animal of God. Damn. I bet if you would ask Miyazaki why he even bother to include this weapon, his answer would be, just because. Yeah, it took forever to get through a mere 3015 HP health bar. Imagine if I had to fight an actual late game boss like this. The thing is that I could at least save a whole lot of time if I could actually break its head in order to use a visceral attack. But the egotistical hug thyself eruption didn't seem to extend that far. Regardless, this weapon does have an attack that could rescue me from this parasitic power struggle pandemonium, something that turns saliva into salvation. Well, that wasn't exactly just a small lick of work, but unfortunately, neither was Micolash. Even with the Kirk hammer, minus the actual hammer, of course.
Don't go near a wall. Oh, now this bullshit starts. Okay. 548, how does that work? I don't get that. Why do I do so little damage? Come on. Yeah, attack, do something! Oh my god. What the fuck? Nah, come on, dude. No! Yeah, the skeletons are definitely going to wake up now. And also, I absolutely don't understand why the visual damage is so low. It was double the amount of damage on Orphan. Come on. It's about fucking time. Now I only have 11 blood wells.
Get out of the corner! Okay. That's something. Well, it's at least battle damage. Oh, come on! Damn it, I stay close, stay close. Oh, nice. Okay, good. Come on! No! How did that miss? Okay, not enough time. Come on, yeah, do it, do it, do it, do it! Yes! Okay, got him! Ah. No, that's what I wanted to say, Micolash. That's how I am feeling right now. Dumb dick. I think I need a victory piss after that and get myself some something to drink.
Now, as far as the Kirk hammer was concerned, it was merely a hammer in name only this time. Very much the exact opposite from how I've used it before. But the boom hammer is all hammer, and, well, at the same time all boom, I guess, but I must say it didn't exactly blow me away. And by extension, neither did it blow the Wetnurse away. You would think that it would be more or less the fire version of the Tonitrus, but it is very sluggish. And despite building up beast blood better than expected, it nevertheless didn't leave that much of an impact. I guess it's a good thing that as long as you know how to avoid the Wetnurse's nightmare phase, given that it's not a phase change at all, but the result of getting hit by an actual projectile that you can avoid, then the fight suddenly becomes rather straightforward. In this case it was just a very long and drawn out fight, because unupgraded, not even the explosive flames of the boomhammer can dry the Wetnurse. In fact, the fight took so unimaginably long that by the end, she was out of a job anyway because the baby was already halfway through high school by then. However, for Gehrman, I did in fact save the ideal weapon, given that I wasn't using any left-handed weapon, and there are only two right-hand weapons that also function as guns. And the one remaining was the Micolash, which is a fine sword in and of itself, kind of low base damage but fast as hell in its gun mode, but at +0 it's the gun that answers the question, of whether or not it's viable with a visceral response.
Can you please speak a little bit of Dutch? It's fun to listen to. What do you want me to say? Say the cheese is old and moldy. The kaas is oud and beschimmeld. There you go. Oh, by the way, I have done this before, but Bloodborne is the only Souls game that actually has a Dutch language setting. Not a voice, of course, but... Steek weer. Stab gun. Ramp. Okay, this is called penis. Well, in a manner of speaking. Pound pole is this. This is basically... this translates back to pound pole. The penetrator. I'm dying. Beukhamer. Basically, if you have like 2 Dutch porn stars, their names could be Beukhamer and Paarl. So what is the burial blade good for? Maybe Amygdala? Hold on. Does it have an overhead attack? It's not that high. Maybe the L2. Yeah, that could work. Maybe I can actually hit the head this way. Hi, Patches. Oh, wait. Another stamina run. Well, if you kill him, you get some insight, so... Oh! You have a lot of health. Oh, and he has a moveset. Whoa! Whoa! He killed me! This is the first time since the game came out that I died against Patches in Bloodborne. I didn't even know that was possible. Yeah, he's basically just like one of those other spiders that you encounter in the chalice dungeons, but except for the AoE, because that is definitely unique. Oh, whoa! He can fart? Why are you saying that? I never thought I would say that, but Patches farted on me. Let that sink in for a moment. After all the evil things Patches has done throughout the series, kicking you down holes, this time he used his hole to fart right in my face. I think this might be one of the only times in the history of this game that anyone has experienced that. Well, so this video is definitely going to have something completely unique. Patches farting.
So, even though I felt pretty winded before even starting the fight against Amygdala, it didn't take that long to put this boss into a grave using the burial blade. Well, relatively speaking at least. It was still a 5-minute fight, and the hole definitely would have to be substantially deeper than 6 feet for obvious reasons. But the main thing is that the barrel blade's L2 attack can consistently hit the head in the first 2 phases. And in the final phase, it turned out that the rolling attack is an upward moving attack animation, and therefore perfect for after avoiding the head slam. Now, when it comes to Simon's Bowblade, it was pretty evident already that it wasn't going to be useful for anything at +0. So with the Celestial Emissary still remaining, for whom you pretty much would use some random throwaway weapon for such a random throwaway boss, well, the thing is that at +0, even the aliens here can become a massive obstacle. Especially because you're dealing with an entire army of them. And I no longer had the Amygdalan arm to counter that. And Simon's Bowblade absolutely sucks against them, especially given the lack of thrust attacks, which they are incredibly weak to. The weakest in the entire game, in fact. The thing is that the Moonlight Greatsword has thrust attacks, but also inflict arcane, which their defenses are incredibly high against. Moreover, I had a far better use for it in mind anyway, namely to shine my darkest light into the intense burning bright eyes of the Watchdog. Because remember, 4 chalice dungeon bosses in total are required, given that we have 26 weapons to go through. At least I should be glad that this is not the defiled version. Nevertheless, at +0, this one still has a lot of HP to go through, and simply no clear weakness, although its arcane defense is at least relatively low, and the L2 attack inflicts a lot of it. Especially good to use on the legs, which when they break provide an additional damage opportunity. But to put it appropriately bluntly, now I definitely had no thrust attacks available anymore, unless I would sacrifice the Rakuyo on the aliens. But with Ebrietas right after them, I would understandably want to save that one for her. However, then I discovered that just like how a sharp blade of an axe in this game can be considered a blunt attack, the stabbing animation of a mace can be considered a thrust attack. Although that does in fact make a lot of sense in this case, since we're talking about an almost Sauron-like spiky mace. Of course, the transformed form is even spikier, but that counts as blood damage, not thrust damage. The thing is that you normally wouldn't even realize that the mace version is capable of thrusting in the first place, since the only way to make use of this is by using uncharged R2 attacks.
I love that Bloodborne has aliens. The problem is there are a lot of people who think that these are literal aliens. Like that they originate from a different planet, like aliens in that sense. And that's obviously not what they were going for. They're not visitors from an alien planet. But yeah, there are a surprising amount of people who actually think that. The cosmos in this game is not outer space. It's like another realm of existence. A higher plane of existence, that's probably the best way to think of it. In this world you're dealing with layers of reality. Okay, give me a chance to hit him. Wow, who would have thought that the best stabbing weapon would be a blunt, mace?
Now, just for one final test, I tried to see if Simon's bowblade finally could be useful, but even a charge or two on Ebrietas' head was, let's just say that even if Simon says bow, Ebrietas was not going to comply. And merely putting a bow on a mediocre blade is not going to make it viable. And yes, of course, I'm only talking about that in the context of it being at +0. So therefore, I decided to use it on the 4th and final chalice dungeon boss that we require for a total of 26 bosses. Which was not at all an interesting fight against a very uninteresting souped-up enemy elevated to the stature of boss. Unfortunately, even on an easily backstab-able enemy like this, Simon's bowblade still didn't prove to be all that backstab capable. But, you know, at least we got that out of the way without too much effort. But what was next was a whole different story altogether. And I'm not even solely referring to Ebrietas, but also to actually acquiring the weapon I had planned to use on her. Because acquiring the Rakuyo is pretty much a boss fight in and of itself.
Shark attack. This shark is like a maniac. The fish that survives will be the winner. So don't be last or you'll be the dinner. Shark attack. What are you gonna do? It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming to get you.
Now, despite gaining the seemingly ideal weapon for Ebrietas, let's not jump the shark, because despite the damage output being very impressive for a +0 weapon, which makes perfect use of her weakness to thrust damage and bolt, as you can also buff it, but we were still in a will of a lot of trouble against this massive cuttlefish, or dare I say, Cthulhu fish. Well, given that she's actually modeled after the trachea, I suppose it's even more appropriate to refer to her as a cuttlefish that ate another cuttlefish and got sick because of it. Well, I certainly got sick of her rather quickly. Moreover, given my low damage output, I couldn't rely on my usual approach of fishing for opportunities to do charge the 2 attacks after a head slam. Meaning I had no choice but to fight her up close, which is something I never do. However, I must say that this, at least in principle, worked out quite well. And in fact, it caused her to do head slam attacks much more frequently. Now, regarding that, there is an AI manipulation trick that unfortunately is way too precise to be reliably used by humans. So that's exclusive to Hunter Tool assisted speedruns of this fight, also known as the Ebrietas category. Regardless, even when hitting the head, we were definitely not speedrunning this fight. In fact, hitting it at all was not even the main issue. It was the amount of hits required to break it for a visceral opportunity, and the amount of damage that I could actually squeeze out of said visceral attack in order to shorten the very chaotic third phase. Because even though I would classify the Rakuyo as a top tier weapon, it still has one specific downside. It is absolutely terrible at building up the beast blood meter, meaning I would get only little additional damage out of that. Yeah, it's better than nothing, so it's a welcome addition in that sense, but the worst thing is that it also comes with a highly unwelcome addition, taking increased damage. And that is especially painful after finally getting some really beneficial RNG. Because even though it initially didn't look like it, this fight still turned into an absolute RNG nightmare. Yeah, it was all over the place. Take one step forward, backward, upward, downward, squidward, whatever. Just a complete cavalcade of calamari confusion.
I'm against the fucking wall. As I was saying, Zelda's version has a better arena, that's for fucking sure. Okay, good. No! Heal. Get away, get away. Fuck. Oh, good. Hit her, hit her, hit her, hit her, hit her. Yeah! Get her, get her! No! Quick, just get some hits in. Just die. Yeah! Ah! Fuck you, Ebrietas. Ah, fucking finally. Jesus, fuck up the fucking tentacle macaroni spaghetti. Fucking knocky off. Out of my game.
Alright then, or better said, not alright, because now I have to confront Laurence with a +0 weapon, and even with the beast scaling and strength, and the 20% damage boost from Serration, the mighty whirligig saw has seen some mightier days. But we're going to give it a whirl nonetheless. Of course, to make things worse, for whatever reason, Laurence does not take bonus damage on broken limbs, meaning that the only benefit you will get from that is the initial stagger itself. But even so, the most important thing would be to break the head in order to perform a visceral attack. In all likelihood, no more than a single visceral would be feasible, but that would at least take a decent chunk out of his massive health bar. Otherwise, it would be a horrendously long fight. Get it? Horrendous instead of horrendous. Son of a bitch, can this run be over already? Well, the last pieces of lead weigh the heaviest, although that expression apparently is in English, the last mile is the heaviest. And unfittingly, this isn't even the final fight. But fittingly, I did learn some correct English in the process, from the stream chat. That this is the penultimate boss fight of the run. Yeah, learned a new word. I assume it's derived from the expression, the pen is more ultimate than the sword, or something. But the thing is, what the hell was I even talking about? Oh yeah, breaking the head would result in a visceral attack. But the problem is that this weapon doesn't seem to have any vertical attacks, except for the way too slow charge or 2 attack. However, despite all of that, I guess I got lucky because I did manage to break the head for that well-deserved visceral, given that that's my only opportunity to inflict decent damage. Unfortunately, Laurence is a lot better at inflicting an even decenter amount of damage on me. Yeah. Well, at least someone in the chat pointed out that the transform attack is actually capable of hitting Laurence in the head as well. So that should be a lot more consistent. So it would be a real kick in the nuts if on the next attempt I somehow would not get an actual head break, despite of that.
I know this weapon can do a shit ton of damage. But yeah, not under these circumstances. That's why it's a bit hard to make a ranking out of the weapons under these circumstances. It's not the most fair comparison. I really need a headshot now. Because we're getting close to the third phase and then it's no longer possible. You can't do a visual attack in this third phase. So I desperately need him to do the hand, the double hand slam thing. No! Fuck! Well, that sucks. Whoa! Jesus, and he still does so much damage? Well, maybe Beast Blood is not a good idea. Oh, fuck. Oh, lava. Shit. Maybe Beast Blood is actually not helpful in this phase. Since it lowers my defenses. But Jesus, fuck does he have a shit on the health. The thing is, I absolutely need Beast Blood just to do some additional damage, but I hardly have them, and lowers my defenses as well. Shit. This is fucked. I guess it shouldn't surprise me that fighting a Laurence with a +0 weapon is pretty fucking fucked. Oh, I staggered him? The fuck was that? Oh. Shit. Nice! Oh! Without the visceral. Without the visceral. I didn't even have the benefit of doing a visceral attack. Wow, that was a ginormous fight. Jesus motherfucker. Yeah, that's that delayed slam attack. And that also, when that hits you, that does a shit ton of damage. Jesus. Well, one boss remaining, and I definitely have to take a victory piss now and get something to drink because I'm completely dried out. Obviously. Being near the fire for such a long time.
Well, you would think that after the penultimate weapon would come the ultimate weapon, but I don't know what exact kind of animal the Beast Claw and the Beast Rune transformation is supposed to represent, but under these circumstances this weapon can go and suck a big floppy donkey dick, because fighting this big floppy handful of incomprehensible spaghetti demonstrated that the freaking moon presence of all bosses was one of the biggest obstacles in the entire run. Yes, moon presence is worse in this run than any of the DLC bosses or Ebrietas. Fancy that? Well, I didn't fancy that at all. In fact, no matter how much I tried wailing away at her face, I couldn't break it for a visceral attack. In fact, I couldn't even get a decent chunk of my health bar back. Until I figured out that the R2 attacks while two-handing did allow me to hit the head with at least some level of consistency. But even so, contrary to practically any other run, you will have to actually engage with her entire moveset, including her clouds of blood vial disabling smoke shit fuckery. So all in all, it's not exactly the greatest way to end a rather exhausting playthrough like this, but I will have to see it through. After all, if you save floor A, you have to save floor B. And after emptying out your entire arsenal, I guess it's inevitable that you'll have to wade your way through a giant pile of shite.
Yes! Oh, don't die now. Yes! Ah! I just went for it. I just went for it. I just went for it. Oh, I just went for it. I just went for it. just fuck it. I'm just going for it. I was running out of healing. I had to do something. Ranking the weapons now at +0. These weapons are shit. What is the moral of the stream? Upgrade your weapon. Upgrade your damn weapon. Otherwise, you will be damned.